Welcome to the Decision Masters podcast. I'm your host, Kirsten Parker. I'm a coach who specializes in conscious, clear-headed decision-making, which, despite how hard we work and how smart we are, is not always easy. Each week, I'll bring you science-backed tools and strategies to use in your daily life and career to make more confident, authentic decisions. Oh, and we're going to make it easy while we're at it. If you're into a life with less overthinking, people-pleasing, and perfectioning, and more making what you want matter, you're in the right place. So happy you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Kirsten here, your decision coach for the episode. So excited to talk to you today because we have some visual aids. I spoiled the reveal in the title of the episode. So yes, we're going to talk about a seemingly impulse decision to get a tattoo, but also the larger message I benefited from, and I hope you will as well. It's a message I needed badly in kind of a rough time. And maybe it's the one you need too. So I'm telling you the end of the story first. Okay. Yes. The story ends with me getting this permanent tattoo on kind of a whim in Cape Town last month. Now let me tell you the beginning of the story. I was in South Africa for the better part of 3 weeks where my husband's filming a show, or he was, now he's somewhere else in the world. By the time I got there, I had been in a long period of transition after transition. So, I mean, I guess if you zoom out enough, that's just life. But to break it down and to be a little transparent with you, we had the writer's strike in 2023. My husband, as I mentioned, works in the film industry, and that just caused a lot of upheaval to our finances, to my work, to our home life. 2024, he started working again, which we are so grateful and ecstatic about, but has not had one single job in California since then. So that's been over a year. And that created its own newness and challenges and wonkiness. And at the beginning of this year, 2025, January, had fires and some medical stuff on my end. So I'm going to be honest with you. I went into this period of time following all of these transitions and occurrences with some real negativity. And it wasn't just a bah humbug, grumpy, I'm going to complain about everything that I don't like negativity. It was this accumulated pressure and grief, to be honest, that needed some space. It didn't need fixing. This is my stance on negativity, and maybe you share it too. It doesn't always need to be solved. Not every negative moment needs to be responded to with a positivity hack. And let's just get out our gratitude journal and go on a mental health walk so we feel better. Sometimes that's really useful and helpful and feels really good. And sometimes negativity shows up because it has a message you need to hear. And not just about some way you're thinking you might want to change. Sometimes it has a message about a way you're living you want to change. So that's what I started paying attention to between January and South Africa trip in April. I kind of started scanning for what don't I like? I was looking at a lot of elements of my life, and not in a frantic, chaotic way, not in a, oh my gosh, I have to blow everything up and start over kind of way. And not in a self-blaming way, not in a you're so ungrateful or you should have figured this out sooner. None of that. It was just a period of time when I let myself be really honest and I let myself pay attention to the negative stuff. Not my favorite way to live. Don't recommend it long term, but I needed to gather that information in order to have some things to process. So when I went to South Africa and I climbed my butt up to the top of this mountain, I had processed some things. So this brings me to Lion's Head. Lion's Head is this famous mountain in Cape Town that inexplicably locals run up and down daily. No one knows why. They've been studying it, and there just seems to be, I don't know, something in the air that affects the locals differently than everybody else on the planet. I don't know, despite the bananas behavior of the people who live in the town. It was lovely, and I just walked it. I did it at sunrise, and you walk all the way around this mountain to the top, and it's scrambly at the top. So I definitely was like huffing and puffing, and I earned my rest up there. So I was like, I'm just going to stay. So I sat up there at the top and I got myself a little spot that was just overlooking the expanse of the ocean, looking in the direction of South America. And it was just so peaceful and you feel so small and the air was so enlivening. At one point, I even saw the boats that Kenny's crew were on because they were filming on the ocean that week and they came around this bend and I was like, there they that's so crazy that I'm up here and he's down there. And I felt my mind go quiet, which is actually a lie. I didn't feel it go quiet. I noticed at one point it had gone quiet. I was up there for so long and just kind of letting myself deflate. At one point, I looked around and I was like, oh my gosh, nobody's here. It was like a rare moment that everyone had cleared out and it was physically quiet around me. I did get taken aback that, oh my gosh, I'm all alone. And I didn't even notice because I just went to this like peaceful place in my mind. And from that peaceful place, I think I got quiet enough. And I had been in such regular communication with myself about what are we doing? What do we want? What matters? That I got this message. At the time, it was fun to think of it as getting a message from the sea because don't talk me into a good time. I'll climb a mountain and have a conversation with the sea. Why not? I think also it was a conversation with my own subconscious, but whatever you want to call it. I just got really quiet and heard this really strong, loud, clear message. Choose this. If this is going to be your life, choose it. If this is where you're going to be, choose to be here. If this is the man you're going to marry, this is who he is. This is his job. He's on that boat halfway across the world from where you live. Choose him. It was like I was giving myself permission to shift out of this gear I had been living in of resistance and self protection and scanning for what's wrong and shift into this next gear of ownership, owning my life, owning my choices, driving the ship. What this message means to me is not just settle, take what you get, don't have boundaries, don't have needs. That is not the point of this message. And that would be a silly reason to get a tattoo. What it does mean is decide what you're willing to be in and then let yourself actually be in it instead of constantly scanning for what it's not, where else you could be, where else you might be if you'd done things differently. It means be honest about what you need to change if you can't get behind choosing it. By golly, if you cannot get behind a choice, it looks like you're choosing every day because you keep having those dogs, or you keep going to that job, or you keep sitting on a couch that's uncomfortable. You can't get behind that choice, but you're choosing it every day. We got to find something else that you can choose. Maybe it is your mindset. Maybe it is the couch. Maybe it is the job. Choose this is also a reminder to presence yourself in your current life. So many of us reach midlife, reach mid career, and we have this realization moment that we are working really hard at past us's decisions. Us in our 20s, us in our 30s made some choices. Maybe they set some goals. Maybe they took some action. Maybe they set us on some paths. And here we are in our present day life, carrying out those decision marching orders, but we haven't really updated them in any way to match anything about this new version of us who's not in our 20s or 30s anymore. A lot of the people I work with end up coming to me around that point of their lives because they aren't super clear on what they want today and what they would choose today if they had to make it up. They find themselves surrounded by so many past decisions. And this doesn't mean you're living the wrong life and I want you to have an identity crisis. I don't want that for you. But I also don't want you to have to climb up a mountain to get this message and really feel it in your bones or your skin. My hope is that this experience that I had can translate into your life in some way that you hear the reminder, hear the permission to choose your life, whatever that means for you today. To give yourself an off ramp from maybe the complaint highway you've been scooting along for a little while. No judgment. Maybe to give yourself something to do after you finish processing some negativity. So, to conclude the story that I already told you the ending of, I got this message and it really did feel like permission to put a bunch of stuff down that had been weighing on my shoulders and permission to step back into my life, even if it's just tiny little moments here and there, and give myself the option to choose what's in front of me, to choose to be there and embrace it, permission to find myself in a challenge and choose to believe I can freaking solve it. Choose how I want to move through it. Even if that means, okay, I wouldn't choose to be here, but here I am. So now I'm going to choose to like ask for some help or whatever choice you can make that you're in control of. So I had a much easier walk down the mountain than up, physically and emotionally. And I am a person who frankly loves instructions. I love a little bit of structure and a little bit of guidance. And this seemed like a really, really important reminder, helpful instructions, if you will. And then I just decided, yeah, I'm gonna need that reminder permanently. Let's go ahead and, yeah, trust that. And then obviously, just for a fun little story time, I didn't want the literal English words, choose this written on me. So I asked ChatGPT for some suggestions. And it was super helpful and fun because it was like, you could get this symbol or do it in another language, which is what I decided. So we landed on scegli questo, which is Italian for choose this. If you're curious what it looks like, it's in olive green ink in the scripty font from my website. So you can get a feel for what it looks like if you want to go see my website. And I made an appointment for 9 a.m. the next day and I went and did it. No, this was not planned. And no, I don't regularly get tattoos all the time. But as I've mentioned on the pod over the years, I've built up a lot of self trust. And for someone who still has a brain that likes to get anxious and loves the idea of making the right perfect choice, I've learned how I want to move through decisions of all the stakes, low stakes, high stakes, seemingly permanent. So I didn't have to deal with the second guessing and the fear of what if I regret it and the fear of what if 10 years from now, blah, blah, blah. Or is this the right version I should get? Should I get one of these other suggestions? I want to reassure you, this is totally a possible place for you to get. I am not saying I want you to climb a mountain and get an impulse tattoo, but if you want that level of decision confidence, I'm not going to stop you. That level of confidence is not reserved for a certain type of person who has always known exactly who they are and has never struggled with second guessing or overthinking or wanting things to be perfect. Because I am all those things. And my clients have been all those things. I was just talking to someone before we hopped on our podcast today. One of my clients was reflecting on her level of confidence in who she is and comparing that with thoughts she thought not but 1 year ago. Is this the best use of my time? Is this the right next thing to do? What are people going to think? It was so fun for her to just be able to reflect on, dang, it feels good to have this level of confidence in myself and this feeling of certainty in my choices and just being able to trust myself and not bother with a bunch of the other nonsense. Whew. So let me remind you, I can help you with that. I work with people one on one, and we look at your decision making habits, decisions you're facing in real life right now, from the low stakes ones. What am I doing this weekend? To the high stakes ones that impact your finances and your future and other people. And we get you grounded in how do I make decisions? Why can I trust them? How do I deal with these questions of what if 10 years from now? What's so and so going to think about it? Is this the right best thing to do with my time next? When you can answer those questions and you can have this clear communication with yourself and you can strengthen your relationship with yourself so you know you're making good choices and can handle whatever happens, you do get to have a whole different experience of your life. And that's the point. That's the point of the episode. That's the point of the tattoo. It's not to love every second of every day of every life experience. But even if it's messy or hard or it's not what you expected, you get to choose this. You get to choose what you accept, how long you give yourself to accept it, what to enjoy, what to change. That's the gift. And I hope you give yourself a little bit of it right after this episode. All right. If it is time for us to talk about working together, you can click the link in the show notes. We can set up a conversation, explore all the options, talk about what it would look like. And in the meantime, I hope you have a fabulous week ahead. Thank you for letting me be a little vulnerable today. I'm going to go for a walk in the brilliant sunshine now. get some adrenaline going, and I'll be back next week. Bye. Hey, want to find out your decision style? Obviously, go take the decision style quiz. It's in the show notes and at kirstenparker.com/quiz. We all have our style when it comes to making decisions, but do you know how to use your default way of thinking to your advantage? Or do you mainly get stuck in the most annoying parts of overthinking and people pleasing? The decision style quiz has your answers, my friend. Take it right now at kirstenparker.com/quiz.